Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry. You can hit us up on X at FF After Dark for the podcast, or our individual X Twitter channels at TDC_Calvin for myself, or at Dynasty_Dale for my co-host here. Thank you guys for checking the video out. We're going to be continuing what we did last week and just kind of giving a quick preview for all of the fantasy relevant players for all the games in week 3. We split it up into 2 videos yet again. So if you're here in day 1, go and make sure you check out tomorrow. We're dropping day 2. We're going to have Thursday Night Football in this one as well. So, if you listen, if the early bird gets a worm, right? So you got to make sure you're in this early to make sure you get those Thursday night starts. But, there's been some big news that dropped this week. And before we get into that, Dale, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing really good. I'm trying to recover from the injury Monday night. That was pretty rough. I'm feeling like Nick Chubb's knee, so not well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But other than that, I'm doing well, man.
Yeah, that was a gruesome one. We'll talk about that here quickly.
It was pretty bad. Yep.
With the Cleveland game. We'll talk about that one here today. But yeah, it was not a great weekend. There's been a lot of injuries, a lot of running backs, and it kind of sucks. These guys were trying to get paid for this exact reason, but in the same weekend, you lose Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, all these guys. So not great there, but like I said, we'll talk about Nick Chubb and losing him. Another player we're going to have to talk about that happened in the news, the Cam Akers trade that he was traded to the Minnesota Vikings just for a pick swap in 2026. It was pretty funny. Everyone's kind of downplaying a little bit. Essentially, it was just a cash dump, right? They're trying to make space for the team. And, there's the familiarity with Kevin O'Connell, with Cam Akers from his coaching time there. So I actually like that trade quite a bit for all the locations. I'm not saying that Cam Akers is going to be a superstar, but I do think that this is a better opportunity than with Sean McVay. Sean McVay is just, ever since Todd Gurley, he's gone like off the rails on running back usage. It's been pretty wild to see, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Dale, any other news that you want to talk about here from this last week?
Nope. I do not.
All right. It was a rough one, man. Hopefully you guys are doing well in your leagues.
It really was.
I will say we nailed quite a few calls from last week, and, we've missed on some as well, but, humble brag.
I would say the one I'm most bummed about was with Josh Kelly. I thought he was going to be a lot better.
That one was rough.
Yeah, we kind of swung and missed on that one, but I mean, we did have a lot of others correct.
Yeah, the Joshua Kelly one, it did. Unfortunately, he kind of turned back into a pumpkin, but at the same time, we have to admit that we don't know enough about defenses this early on in the season. Tennessee has now shut down 2 run games completely through the first 2 weeks, so it's entirely possible that the Tennessee Titans defense is otherworldly, which is not a good sign for who they play this upcoming week. We'll talk about that matchup here today, but we don't know if it's necessarily that or Josh Kelly isn't good. Maybe it's a combination of both. But, we did miss on some, but we also hit on a couple, like the Jordan Addison touchdown play. We called that one. Kirk Cousins, I called that him being a great start this last week. So it was a good week. Hopefully you guys tune in, you use some of our advice, and you got some wins. And I was telling Dale that it's a really weird year because normally I don't adjust to the start of the season the best. I start slow in almost every league. And right now, in all of my leagues with median scoring and everything, I'm a combined 12-2. So it's really weird through 2 weeks to have such a good record in all my teams, but I'll take it. It feels like the bottom's gonna fall out, but you gotta enjoy it while it's
absolutely.
there.
No, I'm doing pretty well too. And in one of my home leagues, I'm the top scorer by 100 points in 2 games.
Who knew all those shares of Brian Robinson would finally come in handy, right? So
Finally.
So, all right, that said, let's jump into the first game, the Thursday night game here on Prime. It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be the New York Giants versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this game got very interesting because, Saquon Barkley's now out for the Giants. The Giants looked terrible in week 2, to be honest with you. They really struggled against the Arizona Cardinals.
It was bad.
If the Arizona Cardinals weren't trying to tank, I don't think they would have lost that game. I fully believe the tank job came in the second half. But, the Giants did come back and get the win, but a lot of it relied on Saquon Barkley. Not having him this week is going to be a big, big loss for the team. And, potentially for the Niners, they're not going to have Brandon Ayuk. Where do you want to start here with this one? Quarterback-wise, how are you feeling about these two guys for fantasy?
I mean, honestly, I was really worried about Daniel Jones last week, and he actually really balled out. I think he was quarterback 1 on the week.
It was very good, yes.
It was very good. Like, he had 31 points. Played really well. I'll rephrase that. He didn't play very well in the first 3 quarters, and then after that, he really hit his stride against a mediocre team. So, all in all, I don't. Unless you absolutely have to start Daniel Jones, I would hold off on him personally because of this Niners defense. It's a short week. They don't have Saquon Barkley. So, it's not looking super pretty. But on the other hand, with Brock Purdy, I would rather start Brock Purdy than Daniel Jones. That's just how I see it.
I agree, especially with the Giants defense. It feels like the Giants defense is kind of rough. And you are right, he was the quarterback number 1 this last week, whereas Brock Purdy, a little bit of a rougher week. He was down at 22. Not a terrible week, but when, from quarterback 12 to 22 was a total of 6 points. It's not that big of a gap there. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. I would rather start Brock Purdy as well. I think that the weapons, he's still got Christian. He might be down Brandon Ayuk, and that unfortunately doesn't really matter for the Niners offense right now. Still has Christian McCaffrey, has Debo, has Kittle. They're going to be just fine there. So I'm with you. I think Brock Purdy will be just fine. And I do think that the Niners defense is going to be a very large step up from the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm probably fading Daniel Jones this week if it's me. So take that for what it's worth. Now, running back wise, obviously you're starting Christian McCaffrey, CMC. Are you starting
100%.
Anybody for the Giants? I am not. This is a very difficult defense.
I would rather chew glue, whatever, eat glue. I don't care what I do. I do not want to start any Giants running back because it's because of this touted 49er defense is just going to shut them down. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty ugly the entire game.
Yeah, if the one player I will make a bold call on that I would prefer to start would be Paris Campbell. There was all the rumors in the offseason and training camp that they were using him out of the backfield, and I think you could see a lot of that in this game. And Paris Campbell, I think they're going to manufacture a lot of touches for him in this game, and he'll kind of fill the pass catching role for Saquon in this week, which is the more valuable piece of it anyway. So if I'm starting anybody for the Giants in this game, it's going to be Paris Campbell. I don't mind starting Darius Slayton as well. He was very, very close to having a very big performance this last week. He had that one toe just barely out of bounds, so they didn't give him the touchdown there. So I think that there's a lot of potential. Darius Slayton has always kind of been Daniel Jones's deep threat for this offense. Jalen Hyatt, he's interesting, but he's not consistent enough right now. And then Darren Waller, obviously at tight end. These are the only guys I'm really interested at the Giants. Now, if you have better options than Paris, I think he's kind of a swing for the fences kind of player, but
a very deep league player. I want to say very deep, but if you're playing 12 guys on your team and you need Paris to plug in for a week, this wouldn't be a bad week to plug him in.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Especially in your flex or something like that as well.
Yeah. Yep.
On the Niners side, this is going to be the easier one. You're going to start Debo, you're going to start CMC, you're going to start Kittle, and you're going to walk away. Kittle,
Yep.
we'll kind of talk about a few guys with Kittle as we go along here, who we'd rather play Kittle over, but, that we'll get to it as we go through the matchups here. But I like Kittle a lot, especially without Brandon Ayuk. He hasn't been featured just yet, but that's just kind of the nature of the Niners is they rotate these guys, right? So I think this is going to be a pretty big Kittle game, personally, and with the Giants' defense being a little bit weaker than what the Niners have played in the last couple of weeks, I think that's going to free Kittle up a little bit for more down-the-field targets.
100%.
All right, anybody else you want to talk about in this one?
I think that's pretty well it. Other than starting the 49ers defense against a really
if you have defenses, and if you have a kicker, if Jake Moody as well, he's very, very good.
Jake Moody is it. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I mean, he was a third-round pick. Draft capital matters, guys. Draft capital matters. So.
It does with kickers, man. Come
on. All right. Let's go over to the next game, the first 1 o'clock game here, which is going to be the 1-1 Indianapolis Colts going to Baltimore to take on the 2-0 Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens have been weird the last couple of weeks, man. They're 2-0, but it does not feel like they should be, but they've won pretty handedly. They barely won against the Bengals last week, but they kind of took their foot off the gas and felt like they let up a little bit in that one. Lamar really has not been utilizing his legs as much as we would really like to see. That's a little concerning for me personally. Like last week, he had 12 carries for 54 yards, which is good, but it's not the 80-yard games that you love to see from Lamar Jackson.
Right. Well, and honestly, it's for Lamar. I'm not worried because he's still implementing a new offense, and they're trying to put all that pieces together. Like they were supposed to have J.K. Dobbins that was going to take a little bit of that load off anyways, but now they're kind of retooling with, Gus Edwards, and with Justice Hill and the ghost of Kenyon Drake, as well that was signed from the practice squad today.
True.
So, I think he's going to figure it out and he's going to finally find a groove against this. I mean, the Colts defense is not very good.
It's not, especially the secondary.
It's
and
really not. Yeah,
we'll talk about some of those receiving options here in just a minute. But, on the flip side for the Colts, Anthony Richardson, he's still in the concussion protocol. I think I saw a breakdown that he's 30% likely to be cleared by Sunday. I could see them taking a little bit of a safer role with him being a rookie.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So if he's starting, we start him, right? He's proven to be too good 100%. With his legs at this point in time. He's been very good as a passer as well. I just want to point that out. I want to give Anthony Richardson some props. I know you hated him a little bit for his. He's been good. He's been good solid for a rookie. He's been good. He's been good.
He's been solid so far. I agree.
Yep. But if he's out, so let's say Gardner Minshew is active for this team, are you interested at all in starting him? Would you rather start Gardner Minshew or Brock Purdy, for example?
I think, it's hard telling what the Ravens defense is going to do because they played two pretty bad looking teams so far. I know the Bengals are kind
Colts are kind of a bad team too, to be fair.
Last week, the Colts are kind of a bad team. So, if I was in a 2-quarterback league, I would be willing to start Gardner Minshew
in your super flex. Yeah.
Yes, and only in I'm not touching him in.
Okay.
I'm not. I would hope I would have more options.
Yeah, I mean, he did finish with 11 points just last week in limited game time. He was decent. I do think that he's more than capable. Personally, I would, if I had to pick, I would rather start Gardner Minshew than Daniel Jones this week. And, that might be a hot take, but I do think that Gardner's going to be a little bit more efficient than Daniel Jones. And we've seen last week it was really bad for about 2.5 quarters for Daniel Jones, and then they finally put it together in the second half. So Gardner Minshew, I'd be willing to start him over Daniel Jones. So that's where I kind of lean there. Running back wise, are you Zach Moss? I'm okay playing him. He showed last week he's been fine.
I agree. I'm firing up Zach Moss. I kind of missed on that one. I wasn't sure if he was going to play yet.
Right.
In really his usage with Richardson, I was a little worried about that. But
it might change a little with Gardner, but that's fine.
With Gardner. But I still think even if Richardson plays, I'm comfortable with playing Moss and I think he can play very well off that role. So
are you interested in Baltimore?
The only guy I would play would be Gus Edwards.
I'm out. I would not. I think you have better options this week, personally.
I think in a deeper league, I would be comfortable playing Gus Edwards. I feel he's the lead. I feel of the guys, he's the lead back in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would much rather play Zach Moss over Gus Edwards, though.
Fair enough. Now, for the pass catchers for the Indianapolis Colts, we'll start with them. Michael Pitts is kind of the only one that I'm interested in starting, especially with Gardner Minshew. Agreed. Josh Downs is a little bit more interesting, but I'm still waiting to see the big game from him.
I have to wait and see. Yes.
Yep. On the other side, Mark Andrews must start. Zay Flowers, I think, is a must start at this point, especially against this weaker Colts secondary. And the other guy I wanted to shout out, I think Rashad Bateman's going to have a good week this upcoming week. You look at Rashad Bateman, and Odell Beckham Jr. is injured right now. I think it was the ankle that he banged up last week?
Yes. Yep.
So there's the potential that he's not going to play this week, and Odell hasn't really been that good. Now Nelson Aguilar had the touchdown last week. Rashad Bateman caught all 3 targets, and the biggest thing though is he went from 39% snap share in week 1 to 59% last week. They are acclimating him back into this offense. He's had 6 targets, 3 in both games, and I think that he's going to get a little bit more work in this one without Odell Beckham Jr. on the field to kind of soak that up. And with the weaker Colts secondary, I think that Bateman could have a very, very sneaky good week this upcoming week.
Yeah.
So if you ranked them, obviously Andrews, Flowers, Bateman, but I do think Bateman 100%. Is going to be like, I'd rather start Bateman over Pittman personally. So that's kind of where I'm at there.
I'm the opposite. I would feel more comfortable with Pittman because I know he's going to get the targets and he's going to be the featured receiver in this offense.
Fair. That is fair. But we will see. I think this is going to be a good one for Bateman, but it's just kind of a gut feel that I've got there. Let's jump over to the next game, and this is the one we kind of alluded about earlier, and this is where it's concerning. It's going to be the Tennessee Titans at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, they just lost Nick Chubb. Unfortunate situation there. Deshaun Watson has not been playing well. Everyone's kind of been railing on him. But on the other side, the Tennessee Titans offense has been pretty poor as well. And it came out, Derrick Henry's kind of dealing with turf toe injury. They just have not been able to get things going. Their offensive line has been kind of poor on the Tennessee side, and the Cleveland defensive front is nasty right now. It is very, very good. So this is going to be an interesting game if, like we talked about, the Tennessee front 7 have been able to shut down the ground game so well, which I think that they have been able to do. Deshaun Watson's been not great as a passer the last couple of weeks, but he has played some good defenses, to be fair. So, what do you think about that for Deshaun Watson? Do you think it is just the defenses have been really, really good, or should we be concerned with him?
I think that's part of it, but I also think he is just not the guy anymore. I think whatever transpired in Houston and him having all this time off, I think he's a shell of himself, and I don't think he's a very good quarterback. I mean,
he can get back. I still think he can get back because he's talent-wise, it's still all there, right? I don't disagree
with that, but still, like I don't feel safe starting him in Superflex at all. Like I don't.
I do, and the reason why. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that he still had 12 points and stuff like that last week, and can have a decent floor, but like,
that's the reason why, basically,
long term.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I see that, but if he's my second, I mean, if he's my first quarterback, I'm nervous. I'll just say that.
I hear that.
I'll just say that. I mean, I understand for Superflex. I still don't. I feel really gross starting him.
Fair enough. Really we do have to remember too. In week 1, he was a quarterback 5. So, like, this last one was kind of rough. I will say I do think it was a little bit more of defensive matchups have been really good, and he also still seems like he has that rust. So I don't know. Maybe it's just going to take one game. He's going to snap back into it. But on the flip side, I have no interest at all in Ryan Tannehill in this game. Like 0%. Zero. I'm starting Gardner Minshew over Tannehill. I'm starting Daniel Jones. I'm starting all these guys we've talked about so far over Tannehill. Yeah. Running back wise, dude, I'm kind of nervous about Derrick Henry, and we can talk about him quickly, but he's just not been the same guy so far. Last week he did have 18 points. He had the touchdown, but 25 carries. Now he's got a turf toe injury. I could see them leaning on Tajay Spears a little bit more. I guess you still start him with the running back landscape out there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would still, if Henry plays, I'm starting him. If Tajay Spears gets a start, I probably wouldn't feel good about starting Tajay. I'd maybe throw him in my flex just because, but other than that,
I think there's better options as well for Tajay.
Yes. And then with Jerome Ford,
I'm not starting him this week.
I'm not starting him. I know people spent all their fab on him.
The Fab Wars.
Right. And I get it. Yeah, I get it, but I feel this Tennessee's defense is nasty, and they're going to play like it, and I don't think he has a chance to do very well because I
want to see too
stuff,
the biggest thing
Kelly,
too,
and then
the biggest thing too, I want to see how this backfield shakes out, right? Because they do have Pierre Strong, who got the touchdown, 100%. And he wasn't that good last week. He had like 3 carries. What do you guys want? Two of them were goal line carries. Like, let's see what the guy can do. They also signed Kareem Hunt, so I want to see how this usage kind of breaks out this week, and I think this week will be a good test because 1, I think Tennessee's very good, and 2, we'll see a lot of usage there. Wide receiver wise, Amari Cooper is the only one that I'm interested for Cleveland side. I think that there's potential with Elijah Moore.
I'm pretty interested. I'm pretty interested in Elijah Moore. I think he's going to line up as like an H-back this week, and have more attempts, running the ball because they're trying to get that stuff figured out.
Possibly.
And then I'm really excited that he got 9 targets last week. Now those targets were utter garbage because they were utter garbage from the garbage man.
Sure, but that's the perfect point for this. Is Elijah Moore? All it takes is for Deshaun Watson to click, and all of a sudden Elijah Moore is going to be very valuable for fantasy football.
Very relevant
for me. Until we know that click and that switch has been flipped, I'm a little bit more hesitant and I'm off. But you were 100% right. The targets and the volume are there, we just need to see him not be targeted so poorly, right? So Tennessee side, start DeAndre Hopkins. He's been getting too much volume. And I do think that the Cleveland 100%. Secondary is a little bit weaker. I am okay with starting Treylon Burks in your flex if you need to. There's better options out there, but there are worse options as well. He had the big bomb last week, and it feels like they're kind of getting the synergy between him and Tannehill back on track. So I do like that. Tight end wise, David Njoku, Chig Okonkwo, are you feeling fine with both these guys?
I would only start David Njoku.
Okay.
And I feel bad about starting David Njoku. So
that's fair.
That tells you how I feel about tight ends.
That is fair.
And I would only do that because I feel the Browns need somebody.
I agree.
Somebody else to throw the ball to, and I don't feel comfortable with Ryan Tannehill and him throwing the ball. Yes, Chig got 4 targets last week. He caught all of them, which was fantastic. But I'm kind of waiting and seeing what he does.
Yeah, and he's up and coming, but definitely need to see a little bit more from Chig this upcoming week before you can rely on him for fantasy. So, any last guys you want to talk about in this game, or you want to go to the next one? All right, we'll go to our next 1 o'clock game. It's going to be in a dome. You got to be a little bit careful. The Colts and the Ravens, and also the Titans-Cleveland game. They're both outdoor games, and there's projected wind in both of those games. Yep. Now, that could impact the passing game a little bit, but it's probably fine. It's not going to be rainy and all that stuff as far as we know at this point in time. So just watch that. If it's a really wet, nasty game, maybe start some of these guys at your own peril. But if it's just a little bit of wind, I'm not too concerned. Now, this game, though, this is going to be a good game. I actually am really excited to watch this game. 2-0 Atlanta versus the 1-1 Detroit Lions in Detroit in the Dome. Man, Detroit's been looking a lot better this year. I know that they had a heartbreaking loss in overtime this last week, but it could have gone either way in that one. Atlanta, they're 2-0. They had a heartbreaking win, I think, in overtime, right? So it's very, very close.
It was kind of right at the buzzer.
They won by
25-24.
Yeah, 1 point. That's right. They're good teams. They're interesting teams. Detroit's defense is looking a lot better. Atlanta's defense is also looking a lot better. Atlanta can run the ball at will. Quarterback-wise, Jared Goff, I think I'm a little bit down on Jared Goff this week, and I'll talk about why here in just a minute. But Amon-Ra, he's kind of banged up a little bit. He's got the turf toe injury. He'll probably play, but he's probably not going to be 100%. Gibbs is out there. Dave Montgomery's going to be fine. But I just could see a little bit of a cap on Jared Goff this week without the rushing upside. So, Daniel Jones, some of these other guys that we've talked about, I'd be willing to start them over him.
I would rather play Jared Goff rather than Daniel Jones.
Wow.
And I think
okay.
I think Goff is going to have a fine. He's going to be fine. I really think Atlanta's defense has done pretty well. Overall.
Right.
But they did give up quite a bit of yards to it's a Green Bay Packers team. True. That's not True. Barn burners on offense. So I'm a little worried about it's going to the running backs for Detroit. Like, I'm a little bit worried about Gibbs and his usage right now.
This is going to be the week, though. This is going to be the week, right?
That's fair. That is fair. Like, I'm a little bit worried about it and kind of seeing where it's going. He did trend up in snaps. Like, he almost doubled his percentage in snaps, and he did have quite a few receptions last week, which is a really, really good sign. So yep. I'm just a little worried about him based on draft capital only.
Yeah.
But like, if Amon-Ra doesn't play, I'm definitely smashing Gibbs all day long, and I think he's going to be fantastic.
I just want to point out, so everyone was kind of trashing Cam Akers, and we'll talk about Cam Akers when we get to that game later. But Cam Akers against Seattle in week 1 had, 20 carries or whatever it was.
22 for 29.
22 for 29. Jahmyr Gibbs last week had 7 carries for 17. I think there might be something to the Seattle front defending the run. David Montgomery obviously was much better, 16 for 67, but I think a lot of that came on a couple big bust-off runs as well. So something to keep in mind there. Seattle might have a very, very good run defense. But yeah, last week David Montgomery even played, so this will be the week to see if Jahmyr Gibbs has the ability to carry this team and this offense from a running back standpoint. You expect a lot of Craig Reynolds as well to kind of spell Gibbs, but I think they're gonna lean on Gibbs a lot in this one. On the flip side, you got Desmond Ridder. Are you interested at all in starting Desmond Ridder? He, from a fantasy perspective, was okay last week. From real football, he was kind of garbage.
I honestly no. I have to see more because Arthur Smith is just committed to the run game. I'm firing up Bijan. I would even start Tyler Algier, in all honesty, because
we tried that last week. It didn't work out so well. But
I understand that, and I understand that, but I feel he's somewhere in between what he was in week 1 compared to week 2. So
fair.
I feel he's somewhere in between, and it can it can have a solid floor.
Green Bay has, I think, a better front than Detroit. Green Bay's front is no joke right now. So
it is. So
I would probably be okay starting Ritter in this one. I don't think it's that good of a defense that you have to be worried about it. Like, I'd rather start Ritter than Daniel Jones, for example, just to put a little bit of context out there.
I would probably rather start Daniel Jones because I know the rushing upside is going to be there. And he's
I think Ritter's
going to
have the rushing upside as well, but fair.
Right.
That's fair.
And I get that, but but I think Daniel Jones he might have more design runs and
sure, they're going to try and make it easier on him for sure.
I think
definitely going to try and make it easier on him.
100%.
Now, so obviously start Bijan. You like Tyler Algier.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay with it if you have no other options. We'll talk about some guys here. But receiver-wise, I actually think this is going to be a Kyle Pitts game for Atlanta. Drake London, I think, is going to probably get like 5-6 targets. He's not going to get anything crazy. I don't think that they're going to really do a week 1 on him where he only has 1 target again. I think that was just kind of I do want to point out, too.
It was fluky.
Well, in week 1 as well, Drake London had more targets when you take away penalties, right? Like, if you include penalty plays, Drake London actually had 4 targets. 2 of them were catches that were called back by penalty, and they were like decent yardage. But it's just, when you don't include that in the context, because I was watching that game in week 1, it looks a lot worse, right? But, if you include the actual penalty plays, it wasn't as bad for Drake London in week 1. I think what we saw in week 1 will be a little bit more in line with this, and, probably the penalties won't go the same way. So I think Drake London has probably got a floor of like 8 points is kind of what I'm thinking. So there's definitely better options out there this week. And I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a good week because he has not yet. And, it just seems to be how they're kind of rotating the guys there. Are you interested in starting either one of those 2 guys?
I think I think I'm starting both of them.
Okay.
I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
I'm okay starting both of them.
All right. Fair.
So,
Kyle Pitts, I think, could.
London.
Yep.
So, yeah, honestly, I'm going to make a joke here, and I would never ever start Mac Hollins, but he is the target leader so far in this offense.
No, don't start Mac Hollins.
Or it's either the targets or yardage leader. It's one of I think it's yardage.
Probably yardage.
It's gross.
Yep, it's not great.
Yeah, I don't care, but I would never ever start Mac Hollins in my entire life. So
here's a question then. Would you rather start Kyle Pitts or Sam Laporta in the same game? I would probably rather start Pitts this week just for the upside matchup, but I think Laporta's going to be good.
I think I would rather start Laporta. I think Laporta he's been really solid, and I just feel more comfortable with the offensive scheme. I get Arthur Smith is winning games, but I hate it because they're wasting talent,
right?
And it's extremely frustrating when you waste talent.
Yeah, through 2 games,
so,
through 2 games, Sam Laporta has 10 catches for 100 yards. So, not bad at all for a rookie, right? They're starting to lean on him more.
So, but as for the other pass catchers for the Lions, if Amon-Ra doesn't play, I am going to fire up Josh Reynolds. He has looked really great in this offense so far. I know he had the 2 touchdowns, but even in week 1 against Kansas City, he still had 12 points.
Yep. I'm with you.
That's a very solid. And I feel comfortable starting him in my flex, even if Amon-Ra's there.
Yeah, I think he's kind of he's a safer flex this week. So, I think that there's a potentially low ceiling just without the touchdowns, but I do think he has a pretty high floor on that end as well. Amon-Ra, if he's out there, you're going to play him. It's entirely possible he gets 15 targets this week, even with turf toe. So, if he's out there, start him. All right, let's go to our next game here. We're going to go to the New Orleans Saints versus the Green Bay Packers, and this is an outdoor game in Green Bay. 2-0 Saints. 2-0. They've been garbage. The Saints have been actual garbage versus the 1-1 Green Bay Packers. I actually think that the Packers are going to win this one, but we'll kind of see how that goes. Jordan Love's been very good. He's been a little bit underwhelming from a yardage standpoint, but all signs are at this point, and kind of spoiler, we're recording this Wednesday, so make sure you're keeping track of this, but Christian Watson is on track to play this week. He should have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and surprisingly good player so far, Jaden Reed, who's been killing it for this team through the first couple weeks. He's actually someone that I've been trying to target a lot in Dynasty. But yeah, I do think that Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love they're cooking, man. And I think that they're going to be good in this game, and they're going to be able to withstand New Orleans' pretty strong defense in this one. And I think Aaron Jones has a chance to play this week. We don't really know yet, but yeah, I think this is going to be a good one for Jordan Love yet again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think of the quarterbacks, he's the only one I'm going to start. I'm not even getting near Derek Carr.
He's terrible, dude. He's terrible.
Like garbage.
He is garbage,
like
man. He got wrecked by the Carolina Panthers defense, who are admittedly okay, but not great.
Right. They're kind of hard garbage.
Dude, the Derek Carr victory laps are going to be so brutal. Oh, I'm going to love them. Now, running back wise, if Aaron Jones is out there, I think we're starting him. Even with the re-injury risk, I think that they're going to lean on him too much. A.J. Dillon he's not very good. We saw that the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
On the other side, are you starting, Jamal Williams is probably going to miss a little bit of time. They still don't have Alvin Kamara. It'll be another week before he comes back. Tony Jones and Kendre Miller are the only two. I'm very interested in Kendre Miller this week if he's healthy. Are you interested in Kendre at all?
I'm not really. I'm not really interested in really anybody in this. On this New Orleans running. I mean, I would be interested to see. I don't think I want to start him.
I think Kendre Miller's too good, man.
I just don't. I want to see him do well, but
Fair.
I think it's going to be a little bit. Yeah, I want to see it before I commit to starting him, because I don't know. Like he's been too injury prone. Now for me to feel comfortable. He's coming off a hamstring, which could be really finicky.
Right. I think he could have came back last week, but they played it safe with him. But here's my hot take for the week. Here's my hot take. Yeah. I would rather start Kendre Miller over Tyler Algier this week.
That's fair, because he's probably going to be the starting back.
Yep, and he's going to get a ton of dump offs from Derek Carr.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel good about it. I mean, if I'm starting anybody from the, if I'm starting anybody from the Saints backfield, it would be Kendre Miller.
Okay.
But that's about it. And then the only other Saint I'm considering starting would be Chris Olave. That's really it.
I'm okay with Michael Thomas.
I love Chris Olave.
Michael Thomas has been good.
That's fair.
He's been good. He's not been elite, but he's been.
Chris Olave has been better.
True.
But you can admit it.
I agree, but I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying. Michael Thomas, through 2 weeks, he has 17 targets. He has 12 catches for 111 yards. Like he's been fine. So
solid. Yeah.
He's been just reliable for a PPR standpoint. So I think that he's a very high floor. I'd rather start Michael Thomas than Josh Reynolds, who we just talked about personally. I think that Michael Thomas has a higher ceiling potential in this game. So
I think the opposite. I would rather have Josh Reynolds than Michael Thomas.
Fair enough. Yeah. I like, I guess I'm back on the Michael Thomas train here.
Choo-choo.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. But I'm with you. Olave has been better, I will admit.
He has. Yep.
Now, the Packers side, are you starting Christian Watson back if he's back? I personally would not.
I think I would if he starts.
I'm not. I'd rather start Jaden Reed, man. This guy's been good.
That's fair.
Like through 2 weeks. Not good, but his targets have been nuts.
But I feel that I would rather start Romeo Doubs. Like I feel.
Yeah, the problem with that.
I don't really like anybody. I don't really like any options.
I can hear that.
I really don't.
The one thing I will point out, so Romeo Doubs, and I know he's kind of working back from injury and all that stuff, but through 2 weeks, he has 8 targets. Through 2 weeks, Jaden Reed has 13. So,
I hear that.
It's very high.
But I think, I also probably think that, I mean, it could potentially be that Jaden Reed is playing the Christian Watson role, and then when Christian
It's
Watson
true.
comes in,
That
it's
is
hard.
true.
It's gonna be hard
to tell.
telling with this
It's hard to
team.
tell.
And yeah, and I think the only player I feel really comfortable for the Packers playing is Jordan Love. That's about it.
Fair enough. So, yeah, I think that, Jaden Reed could be sneaky, but if you want to wait off a week and kind of wait and see. Luke Musgrave, I am still waiting until, he is not a Sam Laporta. I'll put it that way. So, I am not starting him. I think you have better options out there for sure in terms of tight end options. All right, let's go to our next game here, and it's going to be the Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Jaguars defense has been pretty good so far through the first couple weeks, but man, CJ Stroud is looking good, man. It's so funny to me
looking very good.
So many people just complain. People find the dumbest stuff to complain about, and they're like, "Oh, CJ Stroud, he had most of his yards in the fourth quarter last week. He only had 140 yards at halftime." You do realize most quarterbacks finish with like 250 yards. Yeah, cut that in half. That's 125. Like, what? How is that a knock against him? Like, it's stupid.
Yeah. And then with that, I'm comfortable starting both of these quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. CJ Stroud has been good. Man. He's good.
Yeah,
he doesn't make
I
mistakes.
Really
That's what I love about Stroud.
No. He's been very accurate, very pinpoint with his passes. And he's been averaging. He averages 45.5 attempts per game.
Yeah. So it's because the defense stinks. They're going to get behind.
Ball.
Yeah.
They're going to throw. He's going to sling it around, and he's going to be just fine.
Yep.
And if I'm comfortable starting him. I feel better about it than how Trevor Lawrence has played. He's kind of been
This is going to be a good one for Trevor Lawrence, though. The Chiefs defense, I think, is no joke for sure. And then the Colts versus the Jags is always just a weird game. Like, it never makes sense. So yeah, I'm fine throwing Lawrence out there. He's going to have a bounce back week in this week. But yeah, CJ Stroud, the only thing I will say that's been a knock on him, he needs to get the fumbles under control. He had 2 last week, 1 in week 1. But the one thing that nobody ever talks about, except for me, it feels like, is the difference in the college ball to the NFL ball. They do get bigger. It takes these guys a little bit of time to adjust to holding the ball and how you have to hold it and everything, because these guys have massive hands. I get it, like they're freaks of nature, but it's still, you're holding less of a circular object. It's harder to hold on to it. It just logically makes sense. So they've just got to get used to it, and he does need to kind of get that reeled in, but he'll be fine on that. Look at Daniel Jones. He fumbled like 17 times his rookie year, and kind of
1,000 times.
Yeah, so
many, it's not funny. So.
Yep. Now, running back wise, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Dameon Pierce. I am not interested in Dameon Pierce, and the reason being,
agreed.
They're gonna use him. He through 2 weeks he has 26 carries, averaging 13 a week. The problem is the defenses. I don't think their offensive line is good enough. Their offensive line is banged up to hell, and I think that their defense is bad enough that they're going to have to abandon that game script completely at some point in the game.
Quickly.
And I'm not starting any of the running backs for Houston. Travis Etienne is the only one you can trust for Jacksonville. I think he's going to have a very good game.
100%.
Obviously, Tank,
100%.
He was basically a healthy scratch last week, which is, I don't know what's going on there.
It's odd. I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. I think they're having a weird year too, trying to figure out what's going on.
I don't know, man.
Kind of where they belong.
Yeah, I guess.
But we'll move on to the pass catchers. The only one I really feel good about starting for the Texans is Nico Collins. I called it last week.
Yeah,
that
he was good, man. He was looking good.
That he was gonna have a good week. I think he's gonna have another good week too. He is wide receiver 6 on the year.
He's been good.
Wild to me.
I mean, he's got 42 points, 28 last week, 14 is week 1.
Yep.
He's got 20 targets. Like, they have to pass so much that Nico Collins, volume wise, is just going to be a stud. He's going to be good.
Agreed.
I am actually kind of low key interested in Tank Dell. I think that he's sneaky
I was
interesting.
hoping you'd say that, Calvin, and I love that for you. I love that you decided that.
Sneaky interesting. Without the touchdowns, I think he's got the potential to kill you, but he does have. I mean, he got 10 targets last week. That's not something that you can completely ignore, right? So,
Yep.
And when you got a guy like Stroud, like we talked about, he's very accurate. So I like the potential there. On the other side, Calvin Ridley, yes. Zay Jones, it was an unfortunate week last week. I think he's going to have a much better week this upcoming week. They played so poorly. I just do not understand what the heck they were doing against Kansas City last week.
I don't know what was going on. Yeah, I would rather play Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk is a better player than
Zay Jones. Had 6 targets though. He still had 6 targets. He just had no catches. Like they were weird targets.
I don't care. I would rather have Christian Kirk, and he showed it last year too.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not worried. Yeah, that's why I would just feel more comfortable.
So you would rank it Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I think it's going to be a question mark on the number 2, but go ahead.
That's fair. And then oddly enough, I would feel good about starting Evan Ingram. Feels really gross.
Sure.
But he's tight end 3 on the year. He's tight end 3, Calvin.
What?
It's wild.
Wow.
He's tight end 3 on the year. You heard me correct. He's tight end 3.
That's funny because he hasn't even done anything. He's got 11 catches.
Yeah, exactly.
But
how? I don't know how.
Crazy.
Don't ask me how.
Tight ends have been bad though this year. To be fair, I mean they've been really bad.
Very bad. I mean, I don't really want to start Dalton Schultz either. I would rather start Tank Dell than Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dalton Schultz has been bad. He's just not been the center point of this offense. So, Yep. So that's that game. It'll be a good one, a fun one to watch. But I think there's some sneaky good dynasty value and fantasy value in this game for sure. All right, let's go to the next 1:00 game. We've got the Denver Broncos at the Miami Dolphins. This one's going to be fun.
Miami Dolphins.
Hey, that was a close game. Dude, they should have just given Cole Strange that first down just to see what would happen. We probably would have still lost, but dude, that was such a good play by Cole Strange. You got to give him credit for that. Like for Gesicki to have the awareness to catch that, lateral it back, him high point it up in the air, and then still be inches short. They should have just gave it to him, man. We would have lost still. Our weapons suck.
I'm going to be firing up Tua. I'm going to fire up Russell Wilson too. He's been playing really well this year. You
take out that bomb, and he was a little bit more mediocre last week, but
he was still fine last week.
He was good. He was solid.
That, he's even still without that. Like he scored. I mean, I would say he probably would have scored 19 points.
Yeah, and he was just fine.
That was more than he was projected. So I'm firing up both of these guys. I don't think there's any. I mean, Tua.
Tua's been good.
He didn't have a down game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a down game, but like he didn't have 3 touchdowns. He only had 1. So,
would you rather start Russ or CJ Stroud?
Probably CJ Stroud.
I'd rather go Russ.
I'd rather go Russ. I'm a little bit. I feel it's close.
It's close. It is close. I think Russ has a little bit more rushing upside, but no, it's close. It's definitely close for sure.
I mean, I'm worried about Russ fumbling too because he had a fumble, he had a pick last week.
He's been careless with the ball. He came out in his post press conference and said that he needs to kind of clean that up a little bit. Running back wise, I think Mostert is a must start at this point. Like must start. He's been killing it, and until he gets injured, you just got to keep rolling with it.
Which is probably going to be this week, but that's beside the point.
Beer pong rules, man. He's on fire, so you just got to keep rolling.
Yeah, he is in fuego. Yeah. Are we starting any of these running backs for Denver?
I'm starting Javonte. I think Javonte's fine. He's been getting the workload. He's been okay, but he's running back 34. But Washington's a good defense though, to be fair, and but he still had 12 carries for 44 yards. It was not like he wasn't utilized.
It's very concerning
touchdowns.
About his yards per carry. It's very concerning to me for his yards per carry. Like I understand he's
Yeah.
getting the volume, but he's not going anywhere. And I really
I mean,
think this
4
Miami
yards per
defense
carry in week 1 is fine.
is pretty good.
It's fine. He's getting 6 targets. Like, he's got 9 targets through 2 games. He's got 25 carries. He's, like, what, 8 months removed from an ACL tear. Like, he's probably going to start the season a little bit slow. I think he's been fine. He just needs touchdowns. He has no touchdowns. That's what's killing him, right?
Right.
And I think this could be a week for a touchdown for sure. So your defense has been is good, but it's not. It's better in the back half.
It's been solid. It's been better this year than it was last year. I'll just
for
say
sure.
That. So,
but yeah, I think that you can run on you guys a little bit more. So I expect that a little bit from.
I will say that Ramondre had 3.3 yards per carry, and
dude, you can't take anything the Patriots do as
I know.
As
anyways,
a tracker. Our offense is so bad. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah,
but I think it's. But I would be okay with starting Javonte, Mostert. I think those 2 guys, and that's about it. And Javonte is kind of on the bottom end of that. I'd rather start him than like Kendra Miller, for example. But he's kind of right in that range personally.
Yeah. So. It's for these pass catchers. I mean, obviously on the Dolphins side, we're starting Tyreek, we're starting Jalen Waddle. Even though you were worried about Jalen Waddle, he still had a pretty good floor last week of 12.5 points.
Yep, that's kind of his ceiling right now too, almost. But he's fine.
I'm still starting those 2. Are we starting any other pass catcher, including tight end for my Miami Dolphins?
I'm not. Those are the only 2 guys I want to start for your team.
I'm low key interested in Durham Smythe and just keeping an eye on him and
keep an eye on him. I don't start him. Like, if you have better options,
I want to start him. I would keep an eye on him. So
yeah, for sure.
So for the Broncos, I mean, are we starting Judy?
I'm fine with starting Judy.
Courtland Sutton?
I'm fine with Judy. Courtland Sutton's been kind of bad, but like, I get it. Judy was bad last week, so that's kind of the counter argument there. But we got to remember, Judy had the ankle injury, or was it hamstring injury, and he came back last week. Yeah. It was first week back. It's entirely possible that he wasn't playing to his full potential.
Fully healthy.
Yeah. And, I think that the only 2 guys that I'm willing to start personally are Jerry Jeudy and Marvin Mims. Mims, I think, he's not going to have 2 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns again, but
it would be, but
I can see him.
I'm just worried. I'm worried about the snap counts for him.
That's what I was going to say. I think
a quarter of the game, a quarter of the
right.
plays.
I think that he's working his way up the depth chart, right? He was a handpicked rookie by, like, there's no reason at all that little Jordan Humphrey should have more snaps than Marvin Mims, right? And when little Jordan Humphrey has 32% of the snap and Marvin Mims has 24, what are we doing here? Like, that's just a coaching mispractice, right? Same with Brandon Johnson. Like, Marvin Mims is already better than both of those guys, so I'm willing to start him. I think he's going to work his way up and be more utilized as the season goes on, and that's about it. So Judy, Mims, and I'm washing my hands of this offense.
Yep, agreed.
All right, the last game we're going to talk about here today. I can't believe I've already gone through 7 games. This is going crazy. Wow. We'll wrap this up here. We're going to talk about the LA Chargers versus the Minnesota Vikings, who now obviously have Cam Akers.
0-2 teams.
Yeah, both 0-2. Somebody's got to. They're going to tie. They're going to tie. Let's go.
Unfortunately, somebody probably is going to win, but on the fantasy side, I mean,
Justin
we're
Herbert,
starting
Kirk Cousins,
Kirk Cousins. Yeah,
both these defenses have been bad, man. Both defenses have been terrible.
Have been very bad, very bad. So so on that, I mean, I'm not even going to worry about quarterback because they're 2 fantastic quarterbacks. Like, we're starting them.
Yep.
So
now Austin Eckler, I don't think he's going to be playing, right?
Yeah. Yes. If I was about to ask, like, if he doesn't play, are we gonna go Josh Kelly again?
I'm willing to do it. I am willing to do it in this one.
I feel you almost have to, because they're playing a very porous
Vikings. That defense stinks. That defense stinks, man.
It's bad.
When DeAndre Swift can run 28 times for like 175 yards, Josh Kelly can do half that.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So So I mean that if Eckler doesn't play, the only guy I'm playing in that backfield would be Josh Kelly. I'm not getting anywhere near Isaiah Spiller,
No.
or whatever back they have to other play.
Yeah,
So
I'm out too.
for Minnesota,
Yep.
yeah. So it's for Minnesota. Or do you want to start Alexander Madison? I don't.
I don't if I don't have to.
If I don't have to, he's been really bad. He's
been pretty bad. And yep. He's been bad.
He's been really bad. I mean, I know he's running back 32, but he feels like he's running back 132. It's felt gross for all the hype that was coming in, and
which I never really got the hype, but that offensive line is it's bad, man.
And letting him down.
The biggest thing that's floating him right now is he has 6 catches on the year in a PPR league. Like, that's a lot of points. That's a touchdown's worth of points.
That helps.
I want to see what happens this week, especially with the Cam Akers trade. By the time that these guys play, they traded for him on a Wednesday, so he'll get there in town tomorrow on a Thursday. It's entirely possible that Cam Akers is suited up and ready to play for Sunday, and maybe it's only like 25-30% of snaps, but I mean, it's going to be Madison and then it's going to be Akers. Like, he's going to vault Ty Chandler instantly.
I would say going forward, I'm not starting Akers or Madison.
Yes, not this week. Not this week for sure.
I want to start them the rest of the season because it's just a battle of the mid, and
we'll see, man. I like Akers. I like Akers, but
I don't believe in Akers. I'm off the choo-choo
train. He's a real person. What do you? How do you not believe in Akers? Well, he's out there on the field, Dale.
I'm not commenting on him as a human being. As a football player, he stinks.
Fair enough.
We'll
see. We'll see. Now, receiver wise, Keenan Allen, he's a stud. You guys start him. Mike Williams was good last week. I think he's fine. Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, not yet.
Yep, agreed.
Quentin Johnson, I think that there's going to be potential. I will say Quentin Johnson, he's kind of flying under the radar right now. But just, if you have him in Dynasty, do not be too concerned. He's played 27 and 15% of the snaps. Brandon Staley's not the best coach as it is. Like, he's not the smartest guy.
I think Staley should have been fired last year, and
he's
going to get fired midseason.
He's definitely on the hot seat for sure.
I don't think if he makes it this season, he's going to be let go at the end of the season. He's not.
I think that's what they'll do. That's kind of what the Chargers have always done. They're not the type to fire you in season, but yeah, I do think that he's going to be on the hot seat. Better days are ahead. Right. Are you willing to start Gerald Everett?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's not been that great.
Yeah, I'm firing at Hawkinson.
Yes, on the Minnesota
JJ
side
and Addison, I'm
Addison
firing up all those guys.
Yeah, the Minnesota side is so easy.
It's easy because it's because their running back's garbage.
Yep,
so
just start the pass catchers
all game. Yep, pretty much.
Are you interested at all in Osborne? He had 12.4 points with a touchdown, but
if you're in a deeper league, yes. I would be interested if you don't have it. If you don't have that many options, he would be on the top of my list.
Dude, I just have a gut feeling. God, Justin Jefferson's so freaking good, man.
I will say this: like, would you rather start KJ Osborne or a person who we said in the beginning with Paris Campbell?
Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell.
Yep. Because here's what I was going to say. I have a sneaky feeling
I would probably be the same, but
that Justin Jefferson is going to explode. Dude, this dude is nuts, by the way. Through 2 games, he has 20 catches for 309 yards. 20 catches for 309 yards. The dude is nuts. He has no touchdowns.
He should have had a touchdown last week.
I know. Well, that's what I was going to say. I think he's going to have just like 2 touchdowns in this week. Like, it's going to be nuts.
Well, I think in general he's going to go nuclear.
Yep.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm all in on JJ. I love JJ. I'm all excited.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good one. This will be a fun one, at least for fantasy. They're going to be just scoring left, right, and center.
100%.
So that should be 100%. Good. Is there any other players you want to talk about in this one? You want to wrap us up?
Nope.
All right, so this is going to be part 1 of our preview for week 1. Thank you guys for joining us here today. Make sure you again follow us on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale, at FF After Dark. You can see some of our posts there. If you're on YouTube and you made it this far, we appreciate it. If you're on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you're listening to this, if you can, please subscribe, like, comment, all those fun things. Just helps us out with the algorithm. We're doing all this just for you guys, and we're excited for the whole season. But additionally, a little bit of extra content that will be coming out tomorrow. I am going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into Cam Akers going over to Minnesota, so I'm going to be dropping that video as well tomorrow, so make sure you come back to the channel and check that out as well. So I'm going to be able to give my unfettered thoughts without Dale's negativity cramping me down. But until next time, we say thank you guys so much for listening, and have a good night.